be on my way now. You just give me a...
MOZA Racing has recently started to target a broader audience with some more affordable gear. A part of this new range in affordable gear, we find the MOZA SRP and srp-lite pedals, which promise a lot at a competitive price. Today I'll be taking a look at them, comparing their similarities and differences, and telling you what I do and do not like about these entry to mid-level pedal sets. Before I get started, please note that throughout the month of December, I'm giving away a Thrustmaster TGT2 bundle. Click the link at the top of the video description to enter, and consider subscribing for many more giveaways to come. Similar in both design and appearance, you would think that these two pedals are nearly identical, but there are actually many more differences between them than you may have thought. I should start by mentioning that only the MOZA SRPs can be purchased separately. Currently, the srp-lites can only be purchased if bought together with the R5 bundle. It's also important to note that only the SRPs can be used independently with other wheelbases as they plug in via USB. For some weird reason, the srp-lites can only be used if plugged in directly to a MOZA R5 wheelbase. Even weirder is that they will not plug directly into the MOZA R9 or R16, just the R5. Though this makes sense considering that they come included with the R5 bundle, it also means that if you ever decide to upgrade your pedals and want to sell your srp-lites, you practically won't be able to unless you find a buyer who just happens to have an R5 they need pedals with. Also, the clutch pedal on both the SRP and srp-lites must be purchased separately as they do not come included. I'll talk more about that in the pricing section of this video. Both these pedal sets are simple in design with a full metal build and near identical adjustability. Though not the most adjustable I've ever seen, it features more than enough in this price range with the ability to bring pedals closer and further apart, adjust the height of the pedal face, and it even supports inverting the pedals, which could be useful to some. For the price range, the overall quality, look, and feel of both these pedal sets are pretty impressive. The comparable Thrustmaster TLCMs are made mostly of plastic, and the Fanatec CSLs come standard with plastic pedal faces, which I found slippery when using with socks. Something you won't have to worry about with either of these two pedals from MOZA. Here you'll find the most glaring difference, which is that the SRPs have better looking brushed aluminum alloy pedal faces, whereas the srp-lites are made of steel with a slightly different design. Throughout my time using both these pedal sets, no type of flex or movement was felt, and I always felt confident applying significant brake pressure. As you probably could have guessed, the main difference between these two pedal sets will be on the brake, but there are also things to point out when it comes to the clutch and throttle. Though the design, adjustability, and build quality are the same, the srp-lite uses Hall effect sensors to register input, whereas the SRPs use a 16-bit magnetic encoder, which MOZA claims are more precise and stable compared to Hall effect sensors. From my experience going back and forth between the two, I would be lying if I said I noticed any real difference, but I'm sure that if you closely analyze your telemetry, you could probably see a slight difference. Despite that, the actual feel of pushing the clutch and throttle down are the same. There's not much to say about the feel of those two pedals, as they have some resistance, not too much travel, and don't give you any type of actual realism. They pretty much just do the job they're intended to do, and that's about it. Now, with regard to the brake pedal, here's where things get a little more interesting. For the load cell SRPs, MOZA Racing offers an additional accessory kit for $15, and for the srp-lites, a $30 brake pedal performance kit is available. I tried out these pedals both with and without their respective optional accessories, and here are my thoughts. Without the $30 brake pedal performance kit, the brake pedal on the srp-lite is underwhelming and hard to use. It has very little resistance and travel, and it's not going to give you any type of competitive advantage out on track. Spending $30 for the brake pedal performance kit is an upgrade, but all it's going to do is add a good amount of resistance onto the brake pedal and nothing else. It will still be a Hall effect sensor that determines your pedal input, and other than adding slight realism to the brake pedal, not much will be improved with regards to your in-game performance. Despite that, for a non-load cell brake, this probably will be around the best you can get. It feels decent, and the overall build quality of the pedals is still impressive. Now, with regards to the MOZA SRPs, this will be the more attractive option as it comes with a 75kg load cell brake. Now, what's interesting is that the brake pedal uses both the 16-bit magnetic encoder as well as a load cell to determine your input. Essentially, at the early stages of braking, the magnetic encoder will be used, and then when applying lots more force, the load cell will kick in. Now, it sounds cool on paper, but I found it to negatively impact my performance in game. By the time I was pushing hard enough to actuate the load cell sensor, I was already locking up in game, which means that the load cell sensor was of no real use. I'm not sure why MOZA didn't just opt to only use a load cell sensor on the brake like everyone else. Moreover, without any additional accessories, the SRPs required little force to push down, and they even felt similar to the SRP-lites with the modified brake. Adding the stiffer spring and damper included in the $15 accessory kit made it feel better, but again, the problem with locking up still persisted for me. One of the biggest problems I have with both of these pedal sets is that they are angled too far back. Not only does that reduce the travel of the pedals, but it also feels a little unnatural compared to real car pedals as well as any other sim racing pedal set I've previously used. Before giving my final thoughts, I should talk about the pricing, as that is arguably the most attractive thing about these pedals. Starting with the SRP-lites, as previously mentioned, they only come with the $600 R5 bundle. If you want to add a clutch pedal to those, you'll also have to spend $40 more to purchase that separately. Moreover, the brake performance kit, which I would highly recommend if you don't want to make a big investment into load cell pedals, will set you back an additional $30. The load cell SRPs, on the other hand, can be purchased separately, and those will set you back $160 without the clutch, another $40 for the optional clutch, and $15 for the accessory kit. Keeping everything I've said in mind, including the price of these pedals, there are things that are good, but certainly things that could use some improvement. The good comes down to the build quality, ease of adjustability, and the optional accessories of the pedals, which I found to have a noticeable difference. Unfortunately, from my experience, the bad comes down to the actual in-game performance. The clutch and throttle don't have any special feeling, but they do the job. But the brake is where I had problems. Now, for a non-load cell brake, the SRP-lites are fine, and I would even see that they're good with the optional brake performance kit attached. But the load cell SRPs with their dual sensor configuration is what I could never adjust to, and I found myself locking up the tires more times than not, and when compared to the load cell Fanatec CSLs, which are at nearly identical price points, I would rather go with those. I'm thinking that MOZA may have opted for a dual sensor layout, since the load cell used is not precise enough to properly measure small forces, but that's just my guess. I also think they should include stiffer springs and dampers as standard, as the stock version is simply too soft. Overall, MOZA has some work to do here with regards to configuring the magnetic encoder and the load cell sensor to work in cohesion with one another, but other than that, the rest of the pedal set is well made and competitively priced, so I do feel optimistic about the future potential of the SRPs. Make sure to enter my giveaway for a chance to win a Thrustmaster T GT2, and with that being said, as always, thank you all for watching, stay safe, and have a fantastic rest of your day.